There you go. Wonderful. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October 19th post-solar eclipse QSO party and other events meeting. Yeah, obviously wanted to keep it kind of light today because everybody's been doing a lot of work for the last year or 13 months. I think today's a good day to go back and look at some of the successes we had last weekend. I think they're all successes in all honesty, and give everybody a chance to share some of their experiences and how things went. I know a lot of you got together in groups. I saw some multi-ops, a lot of single ops. Greg up there in Canada did an islands on the air, I guess you would call it, Greg. I don't know if you're on Peely Island, is that it?
I guess that would consider islands on the area.
Yep. So hey, we got a little bit of everything. So let me flip over the agenda, see what's what. Okay. So yeah, as I talked about, I think in the posting this morning, I've got a lot of media hits, things stuck in my email, and I think it's on the next page. I've got them listed, and I want to make sure I don't forget any of those, so I get them on our page. I know Nathaniel's got a request for videos and photos. We'll let him speak for a couple minutes and whatnot, and then I'll go about some of the data we've collected in the last 48 or 72 hours, whatever it's been. Numbers are definitely coming in. So that's kind of the plan. So let's see here. So these are based on my memory, mostly the big media hits we've had in the last week or two. I know BBC Future, that was a cool podcast, and it's on their website. Science Friday was on the website, Nathaniel. Did they also broadcast your interview?
No, I don't know that they broadcast my interview. It might have just been a feature article.
Okay. Well, that's
It was
still
a
good.
mention.
Okay, that's good. The Scranton Times, I think that's your local newspaper there, Nathaniel?
Yeah, it's the Times-Tribune.
Okay, I should be able to find that. Oops.
You can actually see, I think, yeah, you can see their radio tower from here, actually. There's a radio tower out there.
As long as you don't interfere with them, you'll be fine.
Right.
That's right.
Don't want to mess up the popular media.
No.
All right, let me go back to that.
They're our friends.
Yep,
Yeah.
they sure are. The NASA video was up. That was pretty cool. I saw that. TV news, that's 13 ABC. I saw a note.
Yep.
WVIA, is that the local NPR station?
It sure is.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's a couple of times that reporters interviewed you, so that's cool.
Yep.
And then the folks in India, the Statesman is a
Yep.
newspaper that had a couple of
Yeah, and there was another video. There was another TV station, and I'll find it because it's not on your list and it's not on mine.
Okay.
Actually, I think it was in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, Gary. So we need to pick that one up. I'll take a look back because I'll have it in the file.
Okay.
Yep. Because I forgot it on my list. That's why I dropped you the note. So
Does anybody think I'm missing anything? I mean, you can always let me know later too, but
yeah,
not a big
we'll
rush,
pick them
but-
all up. Yeah.
I guess it's media. There was that Uruguay radio amateur club that had a write-up in their bulletin in Spanish, which I did pass on. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that, Nick. I got
Okay.
to find that. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. All
Yeah,
right,
that
good. Well,
NASA video was really cool.
it was. They put a lot of work into that, obviously.
Yep.
And the important thing too, to me, a lot of times, you see things in the media, and as many of us, as technical oriented people, all of us, we see a lot of things that just aren't accurate in the media all the time.
Yep.
But everything I've seen so far is accurate, so that's a huge plus. That's a huge plus.
Good job.
Yeah, and then Gary, I guess maybe to save us some time is I'll post to the group the piece that I sent you this morning, okay, which was a sort of the summary of all the media pieces.
Right.
With the league and all that, and also all the presentations that we've done so far. So, I mean, we could save some time here, and I'll just post it because I see,
Okay.
obviously, there's a couple items that I didn't have on mine that you had on yours. So
All right,
that'll be
great,
good.
great.
So, okay, so
Okay.
consider that done. So,
Good. All right, Nathaniel, I think most of us may have seen her, but if it's better to repeat, we've got a Google Drive where you're collecting photos, but also NASA's looking for live action videos too, right, of the events?
That's correct. If anyone has a live action video that they took during the SEQP event, please send it to me and I will forward it to Joy Eng over at NASA. And you can also, for the photos that I'm collecting, I've started a photo album, a Google photo album, which I will put in the chat here. And feel free to add photos or videos to that photo album. Anything you do put in there, we might use in the future on the website or share with NASA or something like that. So is a public photo album. Back to net.
Likely to end up on a workshop poster or something like that, right? So
Yeah, workshop poster, who knows? Show it at AGU. Get up there on stage in San Francisco and be like, oh, look at what happened.
So your photo may be rubbing elbows with Nobel Prize laureates. You never know. So
You never
could
know.
happen. That could happen. All right. I'd like to jump back over to my slide because there's a big thank you I want to put out there and also go over a couple of numbers too.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to do is especially thank Bruce Horn, WA7BNM, and the Worldwide Radio Operators Foundation. Bruce is the guy who wrote the log robot that accepts our logs, checks them for validity, moves them up the Bitbucket. He put a lot of extra work into it for us, so I'm sure I'll use it again in the future to collect the ADIF formatted logs from the FT8 folks. I think that was the first time that was done. That was a lot of work, and he also accommodated our request for the special check log page. So for the other 4 QSO parties, including Pennsylvania, could be accepted and moved up to Bitbucket as well. So we've, I mean, Bruce is a good guy. He knows what he's doing. I spent a couple of days testing with him last week, and it was very rare that I found something. Pretty much everything he sent, I was able to run back and say, Bruce, it works. Move on to the next thing. So great job on, and that's, I think, one of the fine parts of this hobby. There's a lot of what we do depends on volunteers and people who are dedicated to the cause, and don't expect any remuneration, obviously, or anything in return. And they just do it because it's a support and a service to all the rest of the hands. So good for Bruce and the WWROF. So they do accept donations too, but if you want to go to their page and look at that, that's up to you. Speaking of log checking, I'll show you a picture. You may or may not think this is humor. So as I said, we were doing some testing last Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday morning about 8 or 8:30 or so, he sent me an email and said, okay, we're ready to do end-to-end testing. Create a log, load it up there. It'll go through the checking process. It'll go on to Bitbucket. You can go into Bitbucket, open it up, make sure you see everything in there, so on and so forth. So that's pretty important. That was the culmination of all his work. Unfortunately, I had a project to do on Friday. I was helping my buddy with his tower. So what I ended up doing was taking my laptop out to the farm and perching on the hood of the tractor while I was doing the testing with Bruce. But with my phone as a hotspot, that worked pretty well. But I don't know how many other QSO parties have had their software tested on the hood of a New Holland tractor, but I can tell you it works. Works just fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was funny. So while my buddy was up the tower, there's nothing for me to do on the ground, unless he drops something, I got to send it back up the tower. I had plenty of time.
Hey,
Okay.
Gary,
Yes.
we may want to list that as New Holland as a needed item for those that are engaged in helping with the logs in the program, so that they can have one next time that they're all ready.
That's true. A diesel tractor. You can never have too many diesel tractors. So as of this morning, I took a quick look at our logs submitted. We've got 100 for the SEQP and about 20 check logs, mostly from Pennsylvania, but also Arizona, Nevada, and South Dakota logs came in. So we're moving along there. Those, I think the log submission window is open till November 11th or 16th. I forget what it is, but it's definitely a few more weeks. At some point, we'll have Mackenzie put out a Facebook blast to remind people that if you've participated and you didn't send in a log, it's easy. Remind people how to do it, so on and so forth. So we can use Facebook and the other social media channels to help there. On the Gladstone signal spotting challenge, I was up in the air. I had no idea how many entries we'd see, but since Saturday, we've now got 70 entries. Those are the folks mostly doing Whisper and FFT4W, both transmit and receive that have entered. So that's good to see. One of the options we give all the entrants is to collect some bonus points with some station design information, photographs, and so on and so forth. And 74 of those emails have come into the hamsci.seqp@gmail.com address. So that's working out pretty well. One thing I do want to mention, because I'm not sure everybody was 100% understood this in the past, in 2017, the log upload process was such that the minute you loaded your log up, you immediately were able to get a participation certificate out. Bruce's system is a little different, and I think it'll be better for us. We'll provide certificates after the scoring process is done. What we'll basically do is send Bruce a spreadsheet of all the certificate recipients, and the horizontal rows and in the vertical columns will be the information to be printed on their certificates. So that'll be the participation certificates, first place, second place, third place, whatever we want to do. It's whatever we put into that spreadsheet. And Bruce drops that into his database. And then we announce the results. We tell people, here's where you can go to get your certificate. And then for months or years, as long as this database is alive, you can go out there and get your certificates. There's no time limit on it. In fact, he reminded me, he says, you know, he told me I've got like 96 ARL contest certificates available based on what's in his database. But anyhow, so that'll be a pretty good thing. So that's certificates. The only thing I've run into a question on, just because I'm not familiar with, is our Zenodo database. One of the stations in Texas had internet connectivity problems. And they tell me they've got some really huge files where they're running like 8 slices on a flex receiver of Whisper data. And they were trying to figure out how to get it to us. And I said, well, the Zenodo is the obvious way to do that. And he tried it last night. He tried to use the upload button and nothing seemed to happen. I don't know if there's any magic involved in that. I don't know if we should bring it up and take a quick look at it. Somebody else here has used it, obviously. I know I haven't. Could maybe step me through it a little bit. I'm not sure. Let me bring up Safari real quick, or if somebody else wants to, that's fine too.
You gotta bring it up.
Because I'll have to figure it out eventually, because I'll be moving all those files and things people emailed into me. I'll somehow curate them and organize them into some reasonably usable structure, and then move them over to Zenodo.
Wonder if Bill Engelkey, he's good with data. Wonder if he knows how.
Well, Nathaniel's used it. He's the owner of it, so
Yeah.
there are experts online, I think.
Yes, so let's see here. I was just bringing up. Did you want to share your screen, or do you have a question, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I'll share it real quick. Let me do that. Go to Safari. But I gotta share first. Boy, there's so much stuff from Zoom on here.
We did get a few submissions to Zenodo already.
Did we? Okay, maybe I didn't see those, or I didn't look, because I was just looking at it sorted by date, and this is what came back.
Right. So I just approved one right now. And I can
Okay.
here, I'll share my screen for a second.
Yeah, that'll help. Undo this.
A lot of stuff going on my laptop here. Which way do I want to do this first? Close that. All right, so there's a Zenodo. What is that? Zoom. All right, share screen, desktop 1. Right, so when I log into Zenodo, there's this Hamsci community, and now that I'm logged in, I can click requests, and when people submit a request, so VE3 VPT whisper logs, so I can hit accept and publish, and there, that's in. I'm not being very strong in my curation here. K7 PWS. You can look at the record. So he sent me a photo of his end-fed half-wave dipole. So I can also just hit accept and publish. So for people who want to submit something, they can go to zenodo.org/community/hamsci, and then you can hit new upload, and then you can put all your files up there, and you're allowed to have up to 100 files and up to 50 gigabytes. And you fill out all of this information, this metadata about it here, and you say that you want it to go to, you can start by saving it as a draft. And then once you have it done as a draft, you can hit publish to community, and then I'll get a notification saying that this person submitted this data set.
All right, that's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't see anything there from the guys in Texas. Maybe that's still in the draft and they haven't published it yet, so I can help them work through that. Okay, that helps a lot.
Great.
Okay, anything on the science topics for this week? And I was going to go after that. I was going to go into the kind of an open discussion about how things went for everybody.
I think one thing I'd like to show, which I didn't show this morning, it'd be really nice to just flip through the grape data that Bill Engelke sent. So that's over here. So we had from Bill Engelke sent me 33 grape summary plots, and I can open them all here. And most of them showed really nice signatures of the eclipse. So the eclipse took place around between like 17 and 18 UT. And the typical eclipse signature in the grape is you see negative Doppler shift first, followed by positive Doppler shift. And so this is at 15 megahertz. Here's at my station on 10 megahertz. This is station 32. KD1LE in Massachusetts. Station 11, I think that's probably John Gibbons in Macedonia, Ohio. There's George, a KB1HFT. N4TVC. KC4LE. This one's really neat. So this is KI7DLN. I don't know what's going on here, but this looks like an eclipse signature there. So this is kind of wild.
Yeah, that's the Pacific Northwest. That's up in Oregon.
Yeah. Here's Bill Blackwell up in Massachusetts. Now I should point out that the way the color scale is right now, you know, the nighttime and this dawn is very strong. You can't really see the eclipse well here, but it is there. I do see it. So with a little bit different color bar, these signatures will come through very nicely. There's another one. This one's really nice too. WA9TKK. Lake Havasu. St. George. Here's AA6BD. This one looks like it has some issues. N2IC looks good. KK2Z-L, definitely see it there. KK4HP, W7LUX Joe, VE3GTC, K4BSC Jim, NI5F, you can see a little bit there in the background. AD0RR. This is a station in Netherlands. So I'm not sure that we're able to see the eclipse in here at all. It's station in Netherlands listening to CH2, but they sent us a nice recording. And there's a Dave W0DAS. He's right near WWV, so he's basically just seeing line of sight. K5TR, W1XP, another W1XP. So, and that's it. And just to kind of emphasize that even if the signatures don't look very strong in these summary plots, let me show you. This is my summary plot here. So here you can see dawn, there you can see the eclipse. And I'm zooming in a little bit. Let me show you the photos from the real-time display that we had. So the real-time display right here. This is what the real-time display color bar. So this data and that data and that data are the same thing, just visualized differently. So you can very clearly see the eclipse here. It's harder to see there, but I can promise you with a proper analysis, we will be able to get this same signature back and even, you know, something that's hopefully better. So I'm very happy with our data collection.
Very good. That's I'm almost at a loss for words, because you think how many years have gone into the Grape 1. I mean, starting back in 2019, refinements, software improvements, and in a way we're kind of, I wouldn't say last minute, but the Grape DRF that you're showing there was really developed pretty much over the summer and through early fall. And the team that got that out and got it running, got it tested, and all the people that implemented, you know, there were a few stumbles, but they were for the most part pretty minor. We got really good results on that. So
It was well worth it. Well worth it.
Nice. Okay. Fantastic. Good.
I'm looking to-
Anything else, Nathaniel? I was going to talk about TDOA, or Steve will next, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should definitely hear from Steve.
Yep. Yeah, I gave Steve a heads up. So Steve, if you want to say a few words, you got the floor.
You bet. Can I share a screen?
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, so did several things. By the way, that's what it looked like from here. We had incredibly good annularity. I mean, it was just lined up as pretty as could be. For
Wow.
TDOA, Paul and I got started at 6:30 a.m. our time here, which is 11:30 Zulu. And we took data continually until 1930. So we got 8 hours of data, transmitted that waveform every 15 minutes, 4 times an hour. We had 6 people copying it. Paul was the main one, and then he's in Abilene. We did this on both 40 meters and 60. And then Sam, my neighbor, AB5YO, also joined in, and he recorded those waveforms as well on both bands. Neat thing about that is he's only a few kilometers away, so the 2 paths are surface wave and Nevis, straight up, straight down. And then we also had the A&M station, W5AC, manned by Elliot, chimed in later in the morning. Doug, W6KE from California, tried to record some, but he couldn't hear very well on 40, and too many bands. I just couldn't get over to 20 to send him one. K1FR Tom tried as well, and also KA4 RXP. So we had 6 stations receiving. I haven't heard from any other hams that might have set it up on their own. So we've got 2 bands, 6 stations receiving, 8 hours for 32 records per band. That's like around 200 records. Paul's already mailed me his on a thumb drive. Tom K1FR is going to be doing some analysis based on a correlation technique And I'll be getting with Nathaniel probably at your place next month, Nathaniel, to
That's
get the other
pretty cool.
analysis going. So other than that, while that was going on another front, I had this WWVB receiver down here in the corner. I built that back for the 2017 Eclipse. This is a little digitizer card. So it was being recorded. It outputs the peak value of WWVB as well as the actual decoded waveform. So that got recorded. And then the R8600 was listening to 5 megahertz WWV and recorded the spectrogram.
And what about your GPS disciplined halicrafters?
Yes, the GPS disciplined halicrafters was on 75-meter round table. Yeah, this is a real. There's an old 1950s HQ140. These are 1942 command sets.
Oh, yes.
This is an ARC 5. Honest to God, ARC 5. Aircraft Radio Corporation. This one's a BC 459A, I think, on 40 meters, and that's an AM plate modulator for him. That's an old Drake R4A. So there's some old stuff and some new stuff here. Old ham too. So the WWVB really peaked up at 60 kilohertz. This red trace is the control day. It was actually on the 13th. And then on the 14th, boom, this triangular shape increase in signal strength is what happened to WWVB from the Eclipse. You can see here's 1600 and here's 1700 UTC right at the right time. This is nighttime over here. So this is like 8 hours. So here daytime comes up and the signals drop from nighttime strong levels to daytime weak levels. And then they really get weak during the middle part of the day. But boy, let me tell you, when the Eclipse came by, the D layer thought it was nighttime and it went to bed. And here comes WWVB. Got a similar triangle shape back in 2017. Here's what it looked like back then. Same thing, triangular shape, increase in signal strength on 60 kilohertz. At that time, I also recorded 5 megahertz WWV, and that's this trace. Now that one was, this is S meter voltage, so this is log scale. In other words, linear in dB. That's why it's rounded, not triangular. My receiver puts out linear volts, so this is linear volts. That's how they came up so triangular. So the amplitude data came out pretty cool. I did download some ionoson data. This is critical frequency data for FOF2, FOF1, and FOE. A lot of people showed this profound dip in critical frequency as the Eclipse came by. It looks like it also reached down to the F1 layer. Here's FOF1, and even flattened out some of the wrinkles in the E layer. Usually these F1 and E layers don't do much while the F2 layer goes crazy. Of course, they go away at night anyway. But this Eclipse actually did have an effect on both the F1 and the E layers. Not much, but a little bit. I also looked at HMFE, the height of, maximum F2, F1, and E. So here's, this is from Austin Ionoson. If you use your imagination, here's the little bitty bump, which was the Eclipse. Nothing going on in F1, nothing going on in the E layer. But if you expand the scale on this F1 stuff and superimpose a control day, the day after, the control day is this little light blue line. And this is the little hump that, it's at the right time anyway, that I believe is the effect of the Eclipse. So it did make a little bit of a bump, as it should, up and down on HMF2. Last year, it was more pronounced. Of course, last year's was not last year, 2017, last Eclipse, made a much more pronounced effect. Here was the Eclipse going by, and here's the control day. But that was a total eclipse, and this one was only an annular eclipse. And then I did record the spectrogram. Here's the morning mode splitting craziness when the sun comes up. This is 1200 UTC here. Old WWV was starting to get pretty weak here during this part of the day, but you can see the negative first, then positive S-shaped curve in the spectrogram here. I had this set up dynamic range wise really for this morning stuff. I didn't think it was going to get that weak, but it did. I did enhance this contrast a little bit, and here you can better see the S-shaped curve from the Eclipse, and that of course is the derivative of that hump in HMF2. So that was my other experiments that I ran. I think the grapes did a great job. They did a much better job of profiling this S-shaped Doppler curve. So that's it from here. I think that's the prettiest plot. What happened to the signal strength of 60 kilohertz?
That looks great, Steve.
That's a 6 foot by 6 foot 6-turn electrostatically shielded loop, resonated at 60 kilohertz and homemade receiver.
Related to that, Jonathan Rizzo was able to see the eclipse in his VLF observations with the receiver he has installed at my house too. So he also saw.
We've been communicating. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. That's great.
So but the bulk of the data, we did get the data on. Now it's just time to analyze it.
Yeah.
On the TDOA stuff.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, congratulations, Steve, on pulling that off too, because I know you put a lot of work into getting to this point, but also the test runs and all that sort of thing. So I think the preparation paid off. I guess that's the story.
Thanks.
So
Great job.
very nice. One other person we should probably hear from a little bit is Nick Hall-Patch. I don't know, Nick, if you've got much to report yet, or if any of your medium wave cohorts have sent anything, or you've had a chance to review anything.
Yeah, actually, it's mostly a matter of getting data to here, but I have been able to look at a little bit. There's certainly nothing like Steve. I wish I'd had time to. Mostly it's been sort of trying to herd the cats and get the data. But I have one. Well, first of all, there was about 12 of us plus myself contributing. And I had access to a remote site up near the Alaska Panhandle as well. And I can certainly see the data there. We were both seeing the Trans-Pacific stations coming in again after sunrise, and also some domestic stations coming up as the eclipse passed by. And I'll get some screenshots once I start getting the rest of the data shipped here. I've managed to download one set already from the contributor in Mexico, which is great. And there are 3 drives on the way in the postal system, one more hopefully this weekend. But we're still making arrangements with about another 7 people. But yeah, essentially we're really looking at getting the data here in one place. And with people having recorded up to 1.5 terabytes of data, it's not something that you send as an attachment to an email. I can show you a map of the participants, so where the participants were. So if it's okay for me to share a screen for a moment.
Oh, sure.
Yep. Okay. Let's see if we can bring this guy up. Is that showing through?
Not
that
yet.
Map not yet. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. Okay. So what we've got is, as you can see, a couple in British Columbia, one in Alberta, California, Arizona, Utah, Texas, Michigan, and a cluster in the eastern United States. We may have somebody in Knoxville, Tennessee, but I haven't heard back from them. But yeah, we've got a bit of a gap in the center of the continent, but and the one down in Mexico as well. So yeah, it's not as I would have liked more in the center, but I think we've done fairly well. Okay, and I will now try and get rid of that share. There we go. Okay. back to you.
Sure. One of the things I recognize when looking at that map, those same stations would be very useful come April, that when we're moving from Texas up to the Northeast.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm hoping to do with this is sort of basically grow the ones in the eastern United States because like the couple who have actually looked at their own data say, hey, it's not much happening, and I'm saying, well, there's not much in the way of actually listening to audio, perhaps, but I imagine there's stuff, there's stories being told in the carriers. But I'd like them to maintain the enthusiasm for for the 2024 eclipse because they'll be in an ideal position to get some really interesting data. Okay, back to you.
Great. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. It was good seeing the map and hearing how things are going along. So at some point on this call in the next few weeks, we'll get back to work. And I just want like people to think about if there's whether their own comments or they hear comments from others, things that maybe we would want to do a little bit differently or tweak the rules here or there. Most of these things, and it was true last week too, is that people made suggested some improvements to the website and where to put links and make things easier to find and stuff. And that all happened in the last week or so. But while stuff is fresh in people's minds, if we have any suggestions, now would be the time to let everybody know, and we'll get them written down and see what's practical and valuable to implement before April. Now that we've got a little bit of time. I thought it'd be interesting if anybody else wants to chime in. I know one picture I'd like to see, Nathaniel. You had a picture of the whole multi-app group that was there. I know Mary Lou was in the picture and Anne Marie was in there. If you could dig that one up, I think that really captured the spirit of the whole thing.
I do. Yes, we had quite the crew at my house. There we go. Well, there's one of them. There's one photo we had. And let's see, had a few. Right here at the very end.
You had quite a contingent from New Jersey there too, didn't you?
We sure did. Yeah, Gene K2KJI showed up. A lot of people on the call probably know Gene, either from locally if you're in the area here or at Hamvention. Let's see. Yeah, Bob McGuire was up from Maryland. Yeah, we had quite the contingent.
I like your t-shirt, Nathaniel.
Thank you. Yeah, here's Jonathan Rizzo showing off his little bump in his VLF experiment. He's very excited about that.
It was a very nice, clean bump.
It was. There's my mom posing with the grape data. There's Bob McGuire and Gene. Got a lot of photos in here. A lot of wires behind my station there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought they're called wireless sets, but not so.
All I see is wires. Mine's the same way.
Right? Anthony.
Yeah. All the wires are typical ham station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which wire's giving us trouble? The black one, right? They just change the black one. Yeah.
I told the students they weren't allowed to stand back there because they didn't know which wires were important. There we had our lunch.
Oh, look at that. They're cooked.
There you go.
That's right. We had lots of hot dogs and hamburgers and all sorts of things.
Are
Yeah.
those glasses ANSI rated?
Oh, they are. They absolutely are. They're the real deal. I kept up on this display, the RBN on the left and PSK reporter on the right. And the RBN was, I've got an RBN skimmer in the station. Okay, yeah, there's a picture with everybody. Got a lot of photos. Had Tom working FT8 all day. Rachel's earrings say, they say best ham radio operator ever.
Sounds like an anniversary present.
Right? Maybe it's a little too big. Yeah, we put our lab coats on for a little bit.
I think Anthony needs a lab coat. You need an extra small.
Yeah, we had one for him originally from when he was a baby, but we couldn't find it. So I think he probably doesn't fit it anymore. We'll have to get him a new one.
Is he studying for the technician?
Not yet, but eventually. Yeah, there I am with the display. So I had an RBN skimmer there. So at the stations, I had steps so you could just see what we were receiving with the RBN skimmer. And then these are all the people who were spotting us on FT8.
Yeah, on what band?
We moved around, so I don't remember what band we were on at that point. But
I'm just curious because when I set my receiver on 10-meter whisper, and I was picking up a lot of Europe Saturday morning.
You'll probably see my call somewhere in there.
Gotta be somewhere, right? So I think it was a very successful event. That's it.
Nice. See who else had some multi-apps going. Ed, you had the Fairline group. What, you had 3 stations or something running?
No, actually we put 4 on, because we've got a club station. So we had 1 dedicated specifically to FT8, 2 that worked mostly CW, and actually 1 dedicated to CW, and then we flipped 1 back and forth between sideband and CW. And also we had a separate operator who ran CW. I haven't seen his log yet, by the way. So but so actually, the club put on 5 stations. So, and we were, basically between 40 and 10. So actually we ran 10 on FT8 pretty much most of the day. That was good.
Nice,
Really,
nice.
we had about 10, 15 people show up, which was great. So.
The precursor to the big event. Anybody else want to talk about their weekend? Bill, the balloon guy, the balloon festival. Yes.
Balloon guy, yeah. I'm going to start going to the gym next week, so I won't look as much like a balloon as I do now. Alpha 5 Echo Tango, Marco and I set up a portable station along with all the 4 other NOAA people who were doing different displays, astronomy, kits for kids, science kits, that sort of thing. We put up a 35-foot mast and a trap dipole for 80 through 10 meters. We operated only on CW with the intent, obviously, to get RBN spots. May I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. I have too many screens open. Let me find there. Here it is. So these are the RBN data for 80 meters. You can see we operated around the bottom of the band on 80 meters. 100 watts output, IC 7610 to that German trap dipole. And this is when we started about 7 a.m. local time. So right around sunrise. We had hoped to start an hour earlier, but it took us an hour and 15 minutes to get into the museum because of the Balloon Fiesta traffic. They had more participants, people show up than they had ever had before, thanks to the Eclipse. So you can see some of the numbers in dB, signal to noise ratios. ND7K, I think, is up in Utah. It's interesting. We had a big signal there at 7 in the morning. We moved among 80, 40, and 20 regularly. We never stayed on any one band more than 10 minutes. And during the eclipse, we moved very quickly among all 3 bands. As you can see, after 1400, we disappeared.
Hmm.
And we didn't show up again until one trip past 80 meters when we were 3 dB, signal plus noise to noise ratio. But the rest of the time, between 1400 and 1600, no signal up there, which is what we would expect on 80. And we had similar data collected by the RBN for 40 and 20 meters. We had a little over 900 RBN spots. So the RBN network, pardon me, worked really well. But frankly, calling CQ on CW was not very, very good for us. We made less than 50 contacts. In 2017, I made 250 contacts. So I thought it was interesting that we had very few callers, relatively speaking. And that's something we need to think about for 2024. Perhaps, like a lot of QSO parties did and do, is we would suggest a watering hole set of frequencies for each of the bands, for sideband and CW, and deconflict those with those selected by each of the QSO parties. I know Arizona and Pennsylvania have their own watering holes, but it was a lot of fun. It was freezing cold, literally not many degrees, about 5 degrees above freezing. I had to go into the museum to warm up my numb fingers so I could come back and operate the laptop. When I came back out, it was my turn to operate. But it went well. I met Bill Murtaugh, who's the program coordinator for the Space Weather Prediction Center. He was one of the guests NOAA had there. And we made lots of good points with the NOAA folks and the NASA folks. It went well. And I've got pictures, and I'll make some nice graphs with the Excel data from the RBN. Unfortunately, I didn't get any beacon transmitters going here at home. I need to get a job, so I'll go back to work and have some free time. Enough of this retirement stuff.
That sounds great, Bill.
Yeah, we had an awesome. We had an awesome time, Nathaniel. The balloon, and my wife was there. Daughter number 1, grandson number 3. He got a balloon ride the day before. My daughter didn't get up because of the wind, but it was a fantastic event. We literally almost had a balloon land in our laps. That took off in the second wave. But lots of cool stuff. Not a whole lot of people coming by, but there were folks who came by, and we handed out cards and told them about ham radio. And N1MM kept calling SEQP.
So it was a gas bill, right?
Yeah, a lot of gas. Well, we ate burritos, so there was a lot of gas involved.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is John, KA4RXP. I've got a quick update about my adventure.
Sure.
I was down in Corpus Christi, and I had ideal conditions until Saturday morning for setup. And then turned out that the electric plug that was there on the pool deck, which hadn't been used for years, was not working. So I had to make a switch. And that's when all the problems began. So basically, I had a wonderful view of the annular eclipse, but the radio wasn't working, and therefore the data didn't come through. The other positive point about it is that Steve, WA5FRF, is supposed to be getting a envelope from a fella that is part of the W5LEX club that's aboard the Lexington. And I met with him, James Aramis, on Friday, and we went on the ship. There was no access out of the radio room for a GPS antenna to be put up, and there was a pretty high noise level. Yes, that's it. And inside that envelope is a 32 gig SDR card or whatever SD card that has continuous monitoring of 9.999 on a ICOM 7300 from about 10 a.m. or maybe even earlier than that. I think he's got the times on it, but it went from there until 2 p.m. And so it was the only data that was tracked from Corpus Christi. I sent it to Steve so he could put it into his magic program and try to make some sense out of it. But yeah, visually, it was a wonderful experience. Amateur radio wise, it was just a complete blowout. So I have spent the last couple of days since I got back. I now have a Telecon case, the massive one that you can still check legally. And it is filled with all the equipment that I need. And I'm in the process of making a detailed Bible of instructions on how to use the stuff. But the most important takeaway from it is that if you're outdoor trying to use a laptop, it ain't going to work. The sun just reflects off of it. You can't see, and unless you're using some kind of shade or even in the shade, it won't work. But if you use some kind of a hood, you might be able to get something out of it. And for heaven's sakes, don't wear Polaroid sunglasses because it wipes out the screen. So
well, I think that's what the Eclipse is for.
Well, I had a pair of American paper optical that makes the throwaway sunglasses. They have a very nice set of permanent solar eclipse glasses for about $13-14 that worked beautifully. And it was extremely nice watching the progress of the eclipse across the moon with those glasses and not having to constantly shift around as you would with the cardboard ones. So yeah, if you want to have a better viewing, get one of those real sunglasses. They'll fit over regular glasses.
Can you put a link to that in the chat, please?
Yeah, it's American Optical. I'll look for it and set it up with you. It's a company right here in Memphis. All the sunglasses that everybody was using were printed and manufactured here. So other than that, next stop is going to be sometime in April when I fly out to LA and get on a ship, the Majestic Princess, and go down to Mazatlan. And during that time, I'm going to have my own balcony with my own electricity. And I'm not going to have, when I made the move from the ideal spot to the thing that was closest to an electric plug at the Hampton Inn, I was next to an unmarked exit door that people were coming out and slamming right into the table with everything. So it just, it was a disaster that way. I had to stay put no matter what. I couldn't leave the place. It wasn't a fire exit, it was just an exit, but it was not marked on the outside and had a small sign on the inside. But anyway, things will be different in April. So that's my report.
Let me
Well, now you
just
know,
add.
Go ahead, Bill.
Let me just add. I understand your pain. I've used a hood before with a laptop. This time we were under a tent, an open tent all the way around, but we were out there Friday, selected our spot, so we had a place to attach the mast and consideration for where the sun would go, so it wouldn't shine on the laptop.
Yeah, well, these are all things that once one major consideration falls apart, it's just a downhill slope. Everything goes wrong. But thank heavens there's
Perfect.
Well, there's a third solar eclipse, an annular eclipse that's occurring in October of 2024 that is down in Easter Island. And Seabourn Cruise Lines is running a ship, the Pursuit, from Tahiti to Santiago, Chile during that period of time, and there's still seats available. So we'll be doing that, seeing Tahiti, and then probably doing the Galapagos. We're going to Easter Island. That's where the eclipse is supposed to be most visible. So if we foul up in April, then there's another one coming up a little bit later. So good Lord's given me plenty of chances.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is we got some pretty good grant writers on this call. Somebody could write a grant. We could maybe get a group to go down to the Galapagos and see what's going on.
Well, it'd work out. Nobody else, Princess or Holland, don't have anything set up. They for the April eclipse, Princess put on another ship that is going out of LA, dropping down to Mazatlan, where the totality is going to be the best, and then they're coming back and they're going in transit through the Panama Canal. The Majestic Princess is just going down to Mazatlan and then just working its way back up to LA. But that ship sold out. This other one, I forget which Princess cruise it is probably still got some room.
What was that ship that was carrying all the D expeditions for years and years? The SS Braveheart. I think the owner sold it, but that was a popular D expedition ship in the Pacific.
Yeah, it was. It was a clunker, and it was just dangerous as heck to be on that ship. But yeah, and the people that were using it, that had leased it for their that Norwegian island that they were trying to go to. I mean, they lost every nickel they put into that thing.
Yeah, Bouvet.
Yeah, Bouvet. Yeah,
Bouvet. Yep. All right. Is there anybody else that wants to jump in? Otherwise, we'll call it a week. We had a good hour today.
John, hey John, what time did you say this recording start and stopped?
say. I think he had a time on there either at 8 or 10. I can't remember which.
Well, how about this question? Did it start right on the top of the hour?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is play this into Spectrum Lab, and I will start it at some exactly top of hour, so one of the horizontal lines line up, and then we'll just write in what the times actually are.
Okay, let me double check. I've got a text. So anyway, I sent a note to him that said he sent a message saying we're up and recording, but it's Saturday at 10:30 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, that's now he could have been a couple of minutes earlier when he actually started the machine, but it's starting at 10:30 and then it ran till 2 o'clock.
So the gradical lines may or may not be aligned, but you'll get the recording. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if you could, I told him I'd get a report to him so I could either forward it or you could send it to him. He wants to do it for a club presentation.
We're glad to send it to both of you.
All right, yeah, perfect. His address and information should be there.
Well, it'll be an email.
Okay.
There's just going to be a picture.
Let's see. Well, I've got his phone number.
Well, you've got my email. Just I'll send it to you.
You send it to me, and then I'll get it over to him. Yeah,
right.
We'll get it done. But he wanted to, and the other problem with the Lexington is besides the noise, it would, even though the radio club has their own room, there is so much bureaucracy. Oh yeah, you got a QSL card too.
Yeah, you put a QSL card in there.
Yeah.
I'll put it in my collection.
Yeah. It's there's just too much bureaucracy trying to get stuff on the ship. We
Sure.
had, while we were in the radio room getting things set up, we had 4 people come in wanting to know who the heck we were and why we were there. And you know, he's been a radio, he's been on the volunteer staff of the ship for about 8 years, and they still get that stuff. Give somebody a little bit of power and they can go berserk with it. So it, but otherwise it was kind of interesting. The Lexington is a pretty impressive place, but it is limited air conditioning and lots of steps. And man alive, I tell you, those little ones where you get 2/3 of the way up, you better duck your head or you're going to get slammed. I guess only a sailor knows what I'm talking about, but if you're going between decks on the steps, it's a new experience. You just have to keep your head low. But anyway, I'll get in touch with you. You let me know what you got, and then we'll work back and forth, Steve.
All right, we'll do.
All right, good, John. Thank you very much for that report. Anybody else wants to jump in before we wrap it up for the day?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Sure, David.
First, I wanted to, as I mentioned earlier, for direct with this, I did a 10-meter whisper, which I'll be interested to see if other records are can be correlated, because we get a good skip from New Hampshire over to the West Coast. Figured that the eclipse should affect those propagation paths quite nicely. The other thing is that we unfortunately didn't have a lot of nodes operating in the Dartmouth AM Doppler system. We had essentially 2 running, New Hampshire and Ohio, Marysville, just north of Columbus. But we got good records from those, which definitely show differences between the two. I figured Marysville's a lot closer to the eclipse path than we were. So we'll be interested to look at that, and certainly we'll be interested to see what the medium wave DX group got for recordings. So back to net. Oh, and the other thing was that I actually spent the eclipse at our largest Northeast amateur flea market called Nearfest, New England Amateur Radio Fest, and took eclipse glasses, and a lot of people weren't aware that we had an eclipse that day, but we were pointing it out with the glasses, and another friend of mine had brought his solar scope, and we had good weather, which was nice. But I think the next one people will be a little bit more aware of in this area. So back to net.
Yeah, same here. I was just making a hotel reservation at Oberlin College for one night next week, and they've already, first thing that comes up is a big splash screen promoting the stay there for the eclipse or some such thing. So it's going to be aside from a scientific interest, it's going to be a huge economic driver in parts of the country. It's kind
all
of
the little bed and
breakfasts.
breakfasts. Yeah, all the little bed and breakfasts around here have jacked their prices up, knowing that there's going to be a large crowd.
Yep.
Well, keep in mind, this eclipse went over flyover country, and to the East Coast and West Coast. New Mexico is another country. It's not even a state. So and Utah doesn't fare much better. It went over the Four Corners area, so it's all about the coast.
Okay, if that's it, we'll call it for a wrap tonight. Thanks everyone. Thanks for sharing all your insights and information, and glad everyone had a very enjoyable time out of the whole thing. But obviously the big deal is going to happen over the next 1 to 3 years as the data starts get analyzed and we start pulling some science out of it. There's a lot yet to come. We've not even scratched the surface, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to watching this process unfold, because it'll be the first time that I've been able to sit back and watch it. So looking forward to it.
Okay. Last thing, I just want to check in with the students again. Hey, students, say hi. They've been building the antenna, so it's coming along.
That's an antenna. I hope it can get out the door.
I hope so too. I think it will. It comes apart again, but into kind of big chunks, and then they can raise it up to the roof. So thank you very much, Gary. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, you don't want to build an ark in your basement, that's for sure. So,
That's
all right, everyone, 73, have a great week, and we'll see you all soon again, I hope.
Okay, 73, everybody, take care.
73.
Bye.
Bye-bye.